In the heart of Villa Aurora, a small town nestled among lush green hills, Clara dried her hands on her apron, the aroma of freshly baked bread filling the kitchen of her single-story home. At 42, she was the devoted wife of Lucas, a truck mechanic, whose easy smile had won her heart 15 years ago. The routine was comfortable, but there was a restlessness in Clara, an emptiness that she couldn't name. The ticking of the clock on the wall seemed to mock his repetitive days. Clara fixed her, brown hair tied into a loose bun, while she waited for Lucas to return from work. He always arrived with stories about his colleagues at the workshop, but lately he only talked about Diego, a new friend he had met on the road. "He's different, Clara. Charismatic, you know. He makes anyone laugh," said Lucas, his eyes shining with admiration. Clara felt a tightness in her chest every time Diego's name came up, not out of jealousy, but out of a curiosity that bothered her. Who was this man who seemed to take up so much space in her husband's life? That night, Lucas walked through the door with unusual enthusiasm. "Clara, prepare something quickly. Diego will be here in half an hour. I need to help him with a repair on his truck. He's in the workshop with a problem." Clara frowned hesitantly. He had never met Diego, but Lucas's stories painted him as a natural seducer, someone who lived for adventures and free nights. "Okay, Lucas, but it won't take long," she replied, trying to hide her discomfort. "I would like to take a brief break to ask for your like and subscription to the channel. You are helping us a lot with this simple gesture. And I would like to know which city you watch us from." While cutting tomatoes for a salad, Clara imagined Diego. Was he as charming as Lucas described? The doorbell rang, and her heart skipped a beat. When he opened the door, he was faced with a 33-year-old man, tall, with broad shoulders, and a smile that seemed to reveal secrets. "Good evening, I'm Diego. You must be Clara, Lucas's famous wife," he said, his deep voice with a hint of playfulness. Clara felt her face burn, caught off guard by the heat of that look. "Come in, Diego. Lucas is finishing eating," she replied, pointing to the living room. Diego walked past her, leaving a trail of woody perfume. While he and Lucas talked about the truck, Clara watched them in the kitchen. Diego gestured with confidence, each word carrying magnetic energy. Lucas laughed loudly, but Clara felt something new, a spark of desire that scared and attracted her at the same time. Why was Lucas so insistent on bringing Diego into his life? And why did she, so used to the security of marriage, feel the ground shaking beneath her feet? Clara and Lucas's room seemed smaller with Diego there, his laughter echoing like an invitation to freedom that Clara rarely allowed herself. While serving dinner, a dish of lasagna that she had prepared with care, Clara noticed Diego's eyes. They weren't invasive, but curious, as if he was studying her with a mixture of admiration and challenge. "Clara, this lasagna is incredible. Lucas wasn't exaggerating when he said you're a talent in the kitchen," said Diego, his tone soft, almost intimate. She smiled, but looked away, her heart racing. Lucas, oblivious, filled Diego's glass with beer, talking excitedly about the workshop. In the following days, Diego became a constant presence. He would show up to pick up Lucas for repairs, or to have a coffee on the balcony of the house, overlooking the hills of Villa Aurora. Each visit was a test for Clara. Diego told stories of his travels as a driver, of nights in distant cities where he danced in bars for women who paid for his company. "It's just fun, Clara. But it requires charm and a little training," he joked one afternoon, flexing his arm with a provocative smile. Clara laughed, but felt heat rising up her neck. Lucas, next door, looked delighted. "See, Clara? Diego is the man. There's always a new story." However, Lucas's admiration for Diego began to bother Clara. It wasn't just the frequency of visits, but the way Lucas seemed to idolize him, as if Diego was everything he wasn't. One night, while washing the dishes, Clara confronted her husband. "Lucas, why do you talk so much about Diego? It seems like he's more important than our life together." Lucas laughed, unconcerned. "What's that, love? He's just a friend. Besides, he thinks you're amazing. He said he's never met such an elegant woman." Clara was silent, Diego's praise rekindling that dangerous spark. Clara's internal conflict grew. She loved Lucas, but the monotony of marriage suffocated her. Diego, with his free and seductive way, represented everything she had repressed for years. One afternoon, while Lucas was at the workshop, Diego appeared, alone. "Lucas asked me to get some tools. Can I come in?" he asked, his gaze fixed on her. Clara hesitated, but opened the door. As Diego looked for tools in the garage, he stopped and looked at her. "Clara, have you ever thought about living something just for yourself? Without rules, without thinking about tomorrow?" The question caught her off guard, like a half-open door to an unknown world. Clara knew she was on dangerous ground. Diego was not just a friend of Lucas. He was a temptation that challenged her convictions. And Lucas, with his insistence on bringing them closer, seemed not to notice the fire he was lighting. Or was he the one holding the match? The nights in Villa Aurora brought a silence that amplified Clara's thoughts. Lucas's invitation to a night at Diego's house, a rustic house at the top of the hill overlooking the valley, came as a surprise. "It'll be cool, Clara. Let's watch the game, have a drink. Diego insisted that you come," said Lucas, his eyes shining with an excitement that Clara hadn't seen in months. She hesitated, feeling the weight of that name, Diego, that now occupied her dreams and fears. "Okay, Lucas. But I don't want to stay late," she replied, already choosing a blue dress that discreetly hugged her curves. In Diego's house, the air smelled of polished wood and whiskey. The TV was broadcasting the game, but Clara barely paid attention. Diego, wearing a light shirt that showed off his chest, served drinks with an ease that made each gesture seem like a dance. "Clara, you light up any place," he said as he handed her a glass, his smile full of intentions. Lucas laughed, oblivious, shouting at the play on the screen. Clara felt her face burn, torn between praise and guilt that grew like a shadow. As the game continued, Lucas proposed a challenge. "What if we make a bet, Diego? If my team wins, you owe me a favor. If yours wins, you choose." Diego raised an eyebrow, his gaze passing from Lucas to Clara. "Done. But be careful what you promise, friend." Clara frowned, uncomfortable with the exchange of looks between the two, as if they shared a secret. The game ended with the victory of Diego's team, and Lucas clapped his hands, laughing loudly. "You win, man! What's the favor?" Diego got up, walking to the balcony where Clara watched the lights of the valley. She felt him approach, the warmth of his presence before he even spoke. "Clara, Lucas didn't tell you about the bet, right?" Diego asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. She turned around, her heart racing. "What bet?" Diego hesitated, then revealed. "Lucas bet that if I won, you'd be up for something new. He said he wanted to see you, free, with someone like me. He thinks this could rekindle you." Clara felt the floor disappear. The revelation hit her like a blow. Lucas not only knew about Diego's attraction to her, but he had used it as part of a game. Anger and betrayal mixed with the desire that still pulsed in his chest. How could he? Clara muttered, her eyes teary. Diego held her hand, but she let go. I'm not a toy, Diego. And you? Did you agree to this? He shook his head. No, Clara. I said it would only happen if you wanted it to. He thinks he knows you, but I see you. You are more than he knows. Diego's words were a balm and a flame, igniting something in Clara that she had never dared to name. The desire to be seen, to be herself. At that moment, Clara realized that Lucas's bet wasn't just a mistake. It was a door. But where would it lead? Diego watched her, waiting for a response, while Lucas, in the living room, shouted something about the game, oblivious to the earthquake that had shaken his wife's heart. The air on Diego's balcony felt charged, as if the Villa Aurora Valley itself was holding its breath. Clara walked away from Diego, her heart a storm of anger, desire, and confusion. The revelation of Lucas's bet had cut deep, exposing a truth she had avoided for years. Her marriage, although comfortable, was a cage of routine and silence. I need to think, Diego. This is too much, she said, her voice trembling, returning to the room where Lucas was toasting a beer, oblivious to the chaos he had caused. Clara, are you okay? Lucas asked, noticing her pale face. She forced a smile. Just tired. Shall we go home? On the way, the silence in the car was heavy. Clara looked out the window, the city lights blurred by contained tears. At home, while Lucas slept, she stayed in the kitchen, holding a cup of cold tea, revisiting Diego's every word. I see you, he had said. When was the last time Lucas really saw her? In the following days, Clara fought against herself. Part of her wanted to confront Lucas, demand explanations for his betrayal disguised as fantasy. Another part, more dangerous, wanted to return to Diego's house, explore what that spark promised. She began to notice details that she had previously ignored. The mirror reflected a woman who still had dreams, curves that deserved to be celebrated. One afternoon, while cleaning her closet, she found a red dress that she hadn't worn in years. He tried it on, spinning in front of the mirror. It's still me, he whispered, smiling for the first time in days. Diego reappeared, this time at the workshop where Clara had taken the car for Lucas to repair. He was there, shirtless, wiping his hands on a cloth, sweat glistening in the sun. Clara, I thought of you, he said, directly without detours. I'm not going to pressure you, but I want you to know. You deserve better than being part of a bet. The words hit her like lightning. She wanted to respond, but Lucas approached, interrupting. Hey, Diego, are you finished there? Clara saw a blind trust in Lucas's eyes, as if nothing could shake him. That night, Clara made a difficult decision. Lucas, we need to talk, I said, sitting him down at the kitchen table. Why did you make that bet with Diego? What did you want from it? Lucas stuttered, surprised. I thought it would be fun, Clara, that it might spice things up. It wasn't anything serious. She shook her head, hurt. It wasn't serious for you, but it was for me. You played with my feelings. Lucas tried to explain himself, but Clara interrupted him. I want space, Lucas. I need to understand who I am without you deciding for me. Clara began to change. She signed up for a dance class at the community center, something she had always wanted to do but never dared. In the studio mirrors, I saw a woman who moved with grace, who laughed with her colleagues, who existed beyond the role of wife. Diego, in turn, maintained a respectful distance, but sent occasional messages. I saw you dancing today. You shine, Clara. Every word was an invitation, but also a reminder that the choice was hers. Clara's biggest challenge wasn't Diego or Lucas. It was herself. Years of repression had made her doubt her strength, but now she was beginning to wonder, what if I choose what I want, without fear? The answer was still out of reach, but for the first time, Clara felt like she could find it. The weeks in Villa Aurora passed like a river, washing away Clara's certainties and leaving new possibilities in their place. The tension at home with Lucas was palpable. He tried to redeem himself with small gestures, like bringing flowers or cooking dinner, but Clara felt like something was irrevocably broken. Diego, on the other hand, respected the space she had requested, but his presence remained like an echo. A brief message, a furtive glance at the workshop, a reminder of what she could choose. One night, Lucas arrived excited, holding 3 tickets, to a music festival at the city's open-air amphitheater, a place surrounded by pine trees where the stars seemed to dance. Clara, it's for the 2 of us and Diego. Let's have fun, like before. What do you think? The idea bothered her. Lucas still insisted on including Diego, as if he could fix the past with an event. But Clara saw an opportunity. Okay, Lucas, let's go, he said, with a determination he didn't notice. At the festival, the air vibrated with laughter and the sound of guitars. Clara wore the red dress she had rescued from the closet, the fabric hugging her figure under the colored lights. Diego arrived late, his hair tousled by the wind, and his eyes met hers before greeting Lucas. You look different, Clara, he murmured, while Lucas went away to buy beers. She smiled, feeling the weight of that moment. Maybe I'm discovering who I am, Diego. The music grew, a slow ballad that invited couples to the improvised dance floor. Lucas came back, excited, and asked Clara to dance. But his arms felt strange, as if they belonged to another life. When the music changed to something faster, Diego approached. Can I? He asked, extending his hand. Clara hesitated, looking at Lucas, who nodded with a forced smile. Come on, love. She accepted, and the dance with Diego was like a controlled fire. Every step, every touch, charged with an electricity that made her feel alive. In the middle of the crowd, Diego stopped, pulling her to a corner under the pine trees. Clara, I can't stand pretending that I don't feel anything for you anymore. But I don't want to be the reason for a choice you're not ready to make. Before she could respond, Lucas appeared, his face a mask of suppressed rage. What's going on here? He asked, his voice sharp. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all the looks, Diego's, Lucas's, and her own, reflected in her soul. Lucas, stop, she said firmly. You put me on this path. You made a bet with my life thinking I could control how I feel. But now it's up to me to decide. Lucas tried to speak, but Clara raised her hand. Diego showed me that I deserve more. Not from him, but from myself. I will no longer live to please you. Turning to Diego, she continued. And you, Diego, made me see what I want, but I'm not going to jump from one man to another. I need time to be mine. The silence that followed was deafening. Lucas lowered his head, defeated, while Diego nodded, a mix of respect and sadness in his eyes. Clara walked alone to the edge of the amphitheater, the wind caressing her face. The music in the background seemed like an anthem to his newfound freedom. She didn't know what would come next, but for the first time, she wasn't afraid. The music festival had marked a turning point for Clara, and the following days in Villa Aurora brought a new stillness, like the silence after a storm. The house she shared with Lucas no longer felt like a home, but a museum of memories she didn't know if she wanted to preserve. The morning after the confrontation in the amphitheater, Clara woke up early, the sun filtering through the curtains. Lucas was in the kitchen, his face tired, holding a mug of coffee. "Clara, can we talk?" he asked, his voice hesitant. She nodded, sitting at the table, ready to listen, but also to make herself heard. "I made a mistake, Clara. I thought that bringing Diego into our lives would, I don't know, get us out of our routine. But I saw you there, so safe, so you and I realized that I lost you trying to hold you," Lucas confessed, his eyes teary. Clara felt a pang of compassion, but not regret. "Lucas, you saw me as a reflection of what you wanted, not as I am, and I also hid from myself for a long time. I don't blame you, but I can't go back." The conversation ended with a silent agreement. They would part, not out of anger, but with the acceptance that love sometimes changes shape. Clara rented a small apartment in the center of Villa Aurora, close to the dance studio where she now spent her afternoons. The white walls of her new home were an invitation to start over, and she decorated them with photos of her youthful travels and drawings that she began to doodle on lonely nights. Diego, true to his promise to respect her, appeared only once, leaving a note on the door. "You are already everything you need to be, but if you want company, you know where to find me." Clara kept the note, smiling, but didn't respond. He was a flame that had helped her reignite, but now she wanted to shine alone. In the studio, Clara became a natural leader, encouraging other women to dance without fear. One night, during a performance at the community center, she took the stage, her red dress billowing with her movements. The audience applauded, but she was most proud of herself for finally occupying her space. Lucas watched from afar, a sad smile on his face, and left before the end, respecting the distance she had requested. The loose ends of Clara's life began to be tied, not in perfect knots, but in ties that she chose. She kept in touch with Lucas, now more as friends sharing a story than as a couple. Diego occasionally crossed her path in the city, always with a respectful wave. But Clara knew that the future didn't depend on him. It depended on her. Sitting on the balcony of her apartment, overlooking the hills that embraced Villa Aurora, Clara took a sip of wine. The sky was dotted with stars, and she felt a peace she hadn't known in years. "I am enough," she whispered to herself, the wind carrying her words like a promise. The life ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, it excited her more than it scared her. 2 years have passed since that night in the Villa Aurora amphitheater, and time has transformed the city and its inhabitants in subtle but profound ways. Clara, now 44, walked through the open-air market in the city center, a wicker basket hanging from her arm, her loose hair dancing in the wind. His smile was light, but it carried the strength of someone who had learned to rebuild themselves. The small apartment she had rented had become a sanctuary of colors and memories. Canvases she painted herself, photos of her dance students, and a plant that bloomed in the window, a symbol of her growth. The dance school at the community center now bore Clara's name, a recognition of her dedication. She not only taught steps, but inspired women of all ages to embrace their stories. One sunny afternoon, while adjusting the music for a new routine, a student asked, "Clara, how did you get so confident?" She laughed, her eyes shining. "I got lost for a while, honey, but I found my way dancing, one step at a time." The answer was simple, but it conveyed the essence of her journey. The freedom to be herself, without strings attached. Lucas, now working in a larger workshop in the neighboring town, had found a new rhythm. The separation from Clara had forced him to face his own flaws, and he sought therapy to understand what led him to risk marriage for a fantasy. Occasionally, he and Clara would meet for coffee, light conversations about the past and present. "You look different, Clara. More you," he said one of those afternoons with a genuine smile. "You too, Lucas. I hope you're finding your way," she replied, without rancor, just with the peace of someone who had closed a chapter. Diego remained a figure on the sidelines of Clara's life. He still drove his truck on the roads, but had cut back on nights dancing, focusing on opening a small music school in town. When he passed Clara in the market or in the square, there was a wave, a tacit understanding that his role was to light a spark, not be the fire. Rumors said he was dating a yoga teacher, but Clara didn't care. Diego was part of her story, not her future. One winter night, Clara organized an event in the amphitheater, the same place where everything had changed. Under a sky studded with stars, her students danced, and she closed the performance with a solo, her red dress now exchanged for a flowing white one, symbolizing renewal. The audience gave a standing ovation, but Clara felt something bigger, the certainty that her life with all its scars was beautiful. As the lights dimmed, she looked out over the valley, her heart full. "Thank you for teaching me to fly," she whispered, as if speaking to herself, to Villa Aurora, to the universe. The lesson that Clara carried was clear. True love begins within oneself, and no betrayal, fantasy or fear can erase who one chooses to be. And there, under the stars, she knew her dance was just beginning. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help us, and tell us where you watch us from.